Welcome to the Home Building Hub, your essential podcast guide to building your new home. Hosted by industry experts Colin Bischoff and Darren Brennan, this conversational podcast will help better educate you about all things new home building so you can avoid costly mistakes and enjoy your building experience to the fullest, no matter which home builder you choose.
Hey there, folks. Welcome to the Home Building Hub. You're here with Colin and co-host Darren Brennan as always. And today, Darren, we are going to help people with how to choose between different land options. So you're out there, you've visited some estates, you've talked to builder consultants and got some other ideas on blocks on offer, trying to find the right block, but you're not quite sure, well, how do you actually choose the right one for you? So we are going to go through a few of the key things to consider to help you make that decision a little bit easier. So how you going today, Dazza? Good?
Yeah, mate.
Good man.
It's a fantastic day. Must be a bit cold where you are, mate. We're midsummer. You've got
Yep.
the jumper on. I'm sitting here in shorts and t-shirt, mate, in balmy Ballarat. It's fantastic. It's the other end of the year, mid-year. It'll be complete opposite. You'll be enjoying the warmth, and I'll be freezing my you know what off.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway,
well,
another episode we're in. It's good.
It's a bit cold. I mean, it's 15 degrees right now. It's early Saturday morning. Yeah, so that's why the hoodie's on.
7-star house here, mate. It's no problems. It's just double glazed windows and lots of insulation in the roof. The house is feeling balmy.
Okay, thanks for that, Daz. That's quite informative. Hope you all wrote that down. That's very important information. Speaking of unimportant information, what's the earliest time someone should kick off mowing the lawns on a Saturday or a Sunday morning? What's your view?
I'm going to say 9 o'clock. I reckon just being a friendly neighbour, 9 o'clock. But if you've got a not so friendly neighbour like you.
No, I'm not saying for me.
Sorry.
I just had someone this morning about 7:04 or 05 kick off the whippersnipper. Yeah, and I thought, that's a touch early, just a little bit. But anyway, I mean, we're talking about the big topics, but maybe we should talk about how to help people pick the right block. So let's jump onto that.
Good idea, mate. Good idea.
You kick off with the first one, Daz. Let's go.
Mate, understanding the estate, right? Oh, the estates, obviously comparing different ones. So researching the different estates and what they offer. And what do you mean by what they offer? We're talking about parks, schools, shopping centres, medical facilities, etc. So any of those amenities are really important. They may be in the estate or over the road from the estate, but, relative to where you're going to live, potentially in that estate, where are those things? So you know exactly where they are. The other one in that similar sort of spot is what's its proximity to your work, your lifestyle needs. One that I reckon gets people caught at times is they don't go and look at what the traffic can be like. They go on a Saturday, traffic's okay. I know there's some estates that I've seen. I'm hearing some estates, half an hour to get out.
Yep, true.
Like, no way. I leave my joint. I'm on the road in seconds, So that'd kill me. I'd move. So go down and check it out during the week if you get a chance. Pop in, see what it's like in peak hour when there's school traffic. Those are the important times that are going to be worth considering, because the last thing you want to do is you could have moved just the estate over the road and they've got easy access out, and their people are flowing in and out and going easy, and you're stuck. Don't be that person. Visit the land office, speak to the consultant, and get them to take you through the master plan and all of the items, above mentioned, I guess. But the other bit is also, if that developer's done an estate before, see what it looks like. And I'm going to give a shout out to one of our friends, the guys at Villawood. Example being, they show a picture and say, we're going to build a lake and it's going to have a big, eagle sculpture flying over the top, and over the other side of the lake is going to be a community facility, and the picture looks pretty amazing. And when they built it, it looks like the picture. You're like, how good's that? And the opposite of that would be when they promise a lake the size of the MCG, and you go out there and there's a puddle. So just be mindful that what have they done previously? Have they delivered on what they've promised?
Yep.
I think that's a really, really important part of that fact find. So, one of the estates, if you develop, go for a drive around that estate. if it looks really good, you're half a chance the one you're looking at is going to look really good too.
Yeah, good point. Something that most people wouldn't even think to do. There are plenty of bigger developers out there that have a lot of practice and experience with estates. So look, you may get a slightly cheaper price at a estate that's quite small or a developer that's quite small. We're not discounting them. We're just saying
Yep.
that look at those who've got an estate or a stage even. So in the estate that you're talking about, if they've done a stage before the one that you're about to consider buying, and that's released, and if you've got anyone built in a previous stage, then go out and knock on a door. Best way to find out would be ask someone who already lives in the thing. So
Yep.
that's something that a really good tip.
And that
Yeah,
neighbouring estate could be one block next door.
yeah,
You've got the
yeah,
use of all the facilities of the literally the estate next door. Maybe you don't have the body corporate facilities and stuff, but the park, you're walking one more block to the same park, that sort of stuff. But if it's 2 kilometres down the road, big difference, right?
big difference. Yeah,
So
so that's one.
yeah,
Estates definitely. The next one I'll go with Daz is evaluating the block of land itself. So maybe you've gone to 3 estates and you've got 2 or 3 blocks in each estate to consider. You've gone to a builder consultant, and they've given you a couple of options to consider as well. Obviously, in each sort of option there's a variety of sizes and shapes to land. So obviously there's the width and the depth, and then they're the regular ones, the rectangle shaped ones, and then there are irregular ones. I just call them like the irregular, the pizza shaped blocks and things like that. So if you're not sort of educated on what house can fit on that block, then you're going to run into a bit of trouble, which is why we always say talk to a builder at the same time, and before you purchase land, at least get them to have a look and see what plans are available. So the block itself, making sure it's the right size, the right shape, fits the house you're looking and considering, but also fits in the budget overall. A lot of people go and buy a block of land and then they don't leave enough room for a house. So that's something to consider to consider as well. Making sure that you choose a house design that fits, I guess, the lifestyle needs that you've got. If you like a side backyard and a regular lot, great, go and get it. Some people want just a traditional one, rectangle one. That's fine, but you need to talk to a builder consultant to give you that insight. The impact of the width of the block will severely impact what plan you can fit and also the depth. So that's something
sure.
to consider. And then, obviously, as I said, the budget consideration. So they're probably the higher level, evaluating the block options. And then we'll probably get into the more detailed component of that. Maybe, Daz, you kick off.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I guess the next bit is understanding the site costs and any or trying to avoid any hidden expenses, right? So, um, how's the slope or the fall on that block, and what effect that's going to have on the cost? And that can be substantial. With the new NCC 2022 rules, the fall on the block has a direct impact to accessibility. So, again, blocks with significant fall may not be even volume builders may not be able to provide an option even to build on it. So understanding what that looks like, the risks of purchasing, that block with, significant fall, significant fill, poor soil conditions. And what do we mean by poor soil conditions? Could be uncontrolled fill, could be an old dam site, could be contaminated fill we've seen over the years. So again, just understanding a bit more about that. The role of easements and items like that and the restriction of how that's going to impact your house design are all really important factors in understanding, you know, why you'd choose one over another. A great example, Colin, would be one developer may well have their sewer ties where you're connecting your house sewer to outside of an easement, and the other one has it inside an easement, and that means you can have a slightly bigger house potentially, right? Because of the location of that, or you have to relocate that sewer tie, and that sewer tie relocation could cost you a few $1,000s. So they'd be simple examples that you want to understand and get to know what that looks like.
Yep. Yep. It's very common for us, Darren, to look at estate price lists. And so just so you know, the people who are listening, you've got potentially, if it's a normal block, a 12.5 by 28, there might be more than one for sale. So let your consultant review the engineering and tell you which one's going to have better site costs, which would in turn give you a cheaper quote for your home. Okay, that's all we're saying is get someone to have a look at that and have that considered. The next one does orientation, maximizing natural light is something that people gloss over quite commonly, and it's one that some sales consultants don't even cover very well historically. But I've seen people and had people specifically ignore advice that I've given them, saying you should not build that house on that block because all your living areas will be dark basically through the whole day.
Yeah.
No, that's fine, and and they go ahead and do it. That's fine. I can't. You can lead a horse to water, I suppose, but the point is, you should be considering this stuff because at some point you're going to live in the house, or you're going to rent it out, or you're going to sell it. It will absolutely matter then. Okay, so make sure that you're considering the orientation of the block and I guess where the sun's path goes. Does it go from obviously the sun gets up in the east, it goes to bed in the west. So depending on where your lot is facing, that'll determine what side of the house your living areas should be on. Okay, so make sure that that's covered, thought out. And again, another reason why you're doing building and land at the same time, and you're looking at block and you're looking at the design that fits that, and then you're going back to land. You know what I mean? So we've said that a lot, Daz, but that's why we say it, is because you can't just go and choose one and then work out the next one after that. It's not the right way to do it. Okay, so orientation and getting light through as much as you can through the house.
Absolutely. The orientation also, depending on the house design, may mean that you don't comply with 7-star and therefore you need to make significant upgrades to the home or
Yep.
reduce windows, or you might want to have big al fresco sliding doors. And then they say, no, you can't. You're going to make them much smaller. So all those things can be impacted by orientation as well. So
Even more now, isn't it? Since the
absolutely.
new regs last year. Yeah. Yep.
Correct. Legal and planning considerations would be the next one, Colin. So understanding covenants, design guidelines within the estate. What do they mean? How does that impact, the cost to build, and does your builder, in some cases, because there's differing degrees. Most design guidelines and covenants are pretty short. You might need to do 3, 4, 5 items. Some are seriously arduous. There's one estate looks amazing. It's called Ainsbury, but I think that, and I don't know, I haven't looked at an Ainsbury contract in a couple of years, to be fair, Colin, but in the early days, the contract and design guidelines was about 150 pages long.
Yeah.
Like, it was significant, and the estate looks insanely good. Like, a beautiful estate,
Yeah, it does.
but gee whiz, trying to comply. Talk about a tough gig, right? So,
Yeah.
and there's plenty of other estates like that. There's estates where you'll see volume builders won't even build in because they can't meet the estate covenants, and in some cases, they've been designed that way because they want custom homes being built in those areas. So, to give it a particular, I guess, elite feel about that, potentially, whatever that might look like.
But as I'll cut in,
Ensuring,
that they are sought after as well, those estates, because they are the next level in terms of like there's no investors in a lot of those estates because investors
correct,
are not going to pay that extra X $1,000, and consultants will have to just do the extra work. I actually did do some Ainsbury quotes late last
yeah,
year. Hadn't
there
done
you
those for a while.
yeah,
Yeah, a
yeah,
lot of covenants and front fence requirements and a veranda at the front and things like that
yeah,
commonly are not required. But yeah, once you get through one, then yeah, if that's what the client really wants because they love the fact that there's a golf course right there just
correct,
around the
yeah,
corner and things like that. Like there are estates purpose built for that stuff, sustainability, energy efficiency, etc. as
yeah,
well. We've got so you
true,
might have an initial cost in your quote that's a bit higher, but you're building an estate that that aligns with what you want to really do and where you want to live. So um, definitely something worth considering, though. Don't just go and buy a block in an estate without understanding the impact of that. Is the point, isn't it? Yeah.
great. Um, Next one on the hit list, Colin, would be the legal and planning considerations. So we're talking about understanding. Sorry, we've covered the covenants. Sorry, I've double dipped here. Ensuring the land is titled and ready to build is really important. And if it's not, what's the time frame look like on that? Um, Checking zoning and overlays that may impact future plans. So again, really important to check out on those things. There can be stuff like double story covenants or overlays, etc., that can also impact that. Look for what. With the developer requirements, touching on stuff like setbacks. Some are required to be set back further. Some might even allow you to be inside the normal setbacks. Facade requirements, for example, some may require a balcony facade. They may require corner treatment, etc., etc. So, yeah, some of those things are really important.
Yep. So one for those who buy a block of land, talk about rubbish on site. If you're buying an established block of land, it's through a real estate agent, make sure the rubbish is not on site. If it is, you might have to just negotiate that. But with developers, you can essentially, negotiate that if there is rubbish put on site, prior to settlement, it has to be cleared, etc. Make sure all that's in. But if there's pegs missing, then also that's one to put in. Get a conveyancer to go through those too and make sure they're in. Save you a fair bit of money. It could. Nice little tip.
Absolutely, mate. So there's certainly some of those items, they're really important in making sure that you get, you're not caught on the way through. So they're just really highlighting some of the pitfalls that can occur throughout, that we don't want you getting caught on. So I think you'll find those as really good tips along the way.
Yep. Great. That sort of wraps it up. I guess the biggest mistake you can make is just rushing off and buying a block of land without thinking about all the other stuff that we've just said. So please don't do that. And hopefully you got a bit of value, learn a little thing or two. And if you like what you're hearing, guys, please jump on, leave us a 5-star review on the platform you're on. Any questions, topic, feedback, ideas, things like that, then it's hello@homebuildinghub.com.au. And we look forward to seeing you guys on the next one. Thanks.
Thanks for listening to the podcast, guys. And just our disclaimer, whilst we're all about providing value to you, this podcast should not be considered as legal or financial advice. It contains general information only, and you should seek out independent professional advice on your personal situation before making any legal or financial decisions.
1, 2